Yes, it's true. I have had some supernatural experiences. I've seen aliens.
I think it.
Hey guys, what's going on? I hope everybody's having a fantastic day so far. I've had a lot of people over time ask me, have you ever experienced anything supernatural? And I usually get questions like, have you ever seen ghosts on duty? Have you ever seen UFOs in the sky? Has Bigfoot ever ran in front of your patrol car? And I will go ahead and toss a spoiler out there. I hate to disappoint you guys. I don't believe that I've ever experienced anything supernatural while on patrol. Now I say I don't think I have, because there have been instances where I'm driving down the road, it's in the middle of the night. You're on patrol. So your head is on a swivel. You're checking out businesses, you're checking out homes. Have you ever been driving and you get this feeling like you're about to hit something and it like jolts you? I've had that happen a few times where I thought somebody was walking out in front of my patrol car and I slammed my brakes for no reason. Whether that was a ghost or not, I don't know. I'm too skeptical. But here's the thing. I do not discredit other people's experiences when they claim they have experienced something supernatural, because I myself have experienced weird occurrences in my life, but at the same time I tend to take what people say with a grain of salt. You can usually tell the people that are genuine in what they believe they saw and people that are just way out there. The closest thing that I can explain to you guys that I've experienced as supernatural while on duty, there's actually been 2 or 3 times where I have made a traffic stop, and as soon as I get out of the car, the little hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Now, it's good to be cautious on every traffic stop you make, but very rarely do you get this feeling of just absolute fear. And I am not above admitting the fact that I have made a traffic stop. I get this horrendous feeling in my head that something bad is about to happen, and I have actually gotten back in my car and driven off. Something, I don't know what it was, something told me not to go up to that car. Was it all in my own head? I don't know. And over the past 10 years, that's only happened a couple of times. Do I attribute that to something supernatural? Not necessarily. I don't know if it's instinct. There was nothing distinguishing about the car that was different from other cars that I stopped. Just something told me not to stop them. However, in my entire lifetime, I have experienced 3 main events that kind of changed the way I think about supernatural stuff. The first time I experienced something as what I would consider to be supernatural, I was either 12 or 13 years old, I can't remember. A friend of mine lived out in the woods, and it was a huge house. His parents had a massive house that was literally out in the middle of nowhere. We used to go over there. When I say we, I'm talking about me and my friends from class. We used to go over to this guy's house and we would spend the night. And the majority of the night was playing tag outside, except instead of tag, you got tackled. 12 or 13-year-old boys basically playing tag in the middle of the night in the woods. But on this particular night, I will never forget it. My friend actually had a Ouija board. For those of you that are not familiar with a Ouija board, it's basically a board that is supposed to summon demons. Religion is not something I necessarily really talk about on my channel because people get very touchy about it. I myself am not a very religious person. But again, I don't discredit people that are. That's just my personal belief. So on this particular night, my friend brings out this Ouija board. And it's basically, it looks like a board game. You've got this like triangular symbol that has like a glass piece in it. And whenever this glass piece moves over a certain part of the board, it answers yes or no questions, or it will spell out an answer for you. What was weird about this particular night is we actually lit, I don't know what made us do this, but we actually lit 5 candles around this massive bedroom that we were playing in. Now, when I say a massive bedroom, I'm talking about 25 feet by 25 feet. This bedroom was huge. Again, this was a huge house out in the middle of nowhere. So we had a total of 5 candles. We had 4 candles with 1 wick, and then we had 1 candle with 3 wicks. I'll never forget that. So the candles with 1 wick we lit and we put in the corner of each room. The candle with 3 wicks we put right in the middle of us, right where we were playing our game. I say game loosely. So of course, like 12 and 13-year-old boys do, we start asking questions like, you know, are demons real? And the thing starts moving. Of course, we're looking at each other like, hey, are you moving it, dude? No, are you moving it, dude? I have always been a skeptic when it comes to religion or spiritualism ever since I was a little kid, which is funny because I was actually brought up to be Catholic. I went to Catholic schools. So usually it's ingrained in your brain. But again, ever since I was a little kid, I have always questioned religion. I don't discredit it, I question it. So back to the point, as we were playing this game, one of the boys in the room asks, is the devil real? With no hesitation whatsoever, this little piece shoots over to yes, and every candle in the room goes out. Now, very skeptical people would say, well, that's an easy answer. Somebody blew out the candles, right? Or maybe even the air conditioning kicked on and it blew out the candles somehow. The interesting part about this is the air conditioning was never on, and we were all centered around this center candle. Could somebody have blown out the center candle? Absolutely. But the fact that the other candles were 10 plus feet away from any of us and they all went out at the same time, how do you explain that? We didn't bother trying to explain it because we hauled ass out of that room screaming like a bunch of bitches. So anyway, that was my first spiritual experience, and actually my only spiritual experience, but I have had other experiences in my life that I cannot explain. When I was about 16 or 17 years old, I claimed that I have actually seen a UFO. I was still living with my mom and my stepdad at the time, and I remember letting out my dog at the front yard. It was about midnight. As she's doing her business in the front yard, I was looking at the night sky, and I happened to see these 3 bright lights in a perfect triangle rotating clockwise in the sky. So obviously this catches my attention because these 3 lights are very much brighter than the other lights surrounding them. I figured maybe it was a helicopter or maybe planes doing some sort of drill. I didn't know. Either way, it caught my attention. Here's the creepy part. As I'm watching these 3 lights rotate perfectly around each other, one of the lights suddenly flies off to the right and disappears into the sky. So now I am looking at 2 lights that are revolving in this almost oblong motion as if they hadn't been disturbed. The second light then flies off to the right and it disappears. The part that I can't explain is that last light kept revolving in that clockwise motion. It went a different direction. It shot off to the left and disappeared. And again, the skeptic part of me says there's no way that was aliens. I'm sure it's something that can be perfectly explainable, but as I have gotten older, I have started to understand G-forces and speed. I don't know how this is possible. How do you go from making a perfect circle in the sky to traveling the equivalent of what had to be at least 20 miles in a second and disappearing? And I'm very careful. This is the first time I'm talking about something like this on this channel because most people give you this weird look. You know, if you're deep in conversation and you're talking with somebody else about their personal experiences, people tend to open up and listen to what you have to say, but this is not something I would start a conversation with for obvious reasons. So I have never publicly announced that I have seen UFOs because I'm still not sure exactly what that was, but how do you explain that exactly? The third and last experience that I had that I cannot explain whatsoever was actually when I was in the Air Force. I was stationed in Biloxi, Mississippi. I was in tech school there. The base in Biloxi, the dorms are arranged in almost a triangular fashion. So it's called the Triangle. Well, at the tip of the triangle was a club that we used to go to. We would hang out on the weekends. So as I'm walking to this club one night, I see this bright shooting star over me, and I figured it was maybe a meteorite, maybe an asteroid, comet, I don't know, but it was this bright streak of light that shot over the sky at the speed that a meteor would. The odd part about this one was that it stopped dead in the sky. It made a complete stop, shot off to the left, and disappeared. How do you explain that? As far as I know, which I don't have access to top secret information from the military, but as far as I know, we don't have any vehicles that are capable of moving with that sort of thrust. But again, I'm not privy to that kind of information. The last thing I'm going to end on today, guys, is I wanted to share my experience I had with my grandfather. And this is something I've kind of played with over the last week, whether or not I wanted to mention in a video. My grandfather was an Air Force intelligence officer. He held a security clearance that was above top secret called a Q clearance. He was stationed at a secret Air Force installation. I will let you guys use your imagination to figure out which one that might be. So my entire life, I've tried to get my grandfather, since I was 8 years old, I've tried to get my grandfather to talk about something that he's experienced or that he's seen in his career. Right before his death, he came to Georgia, he visited my family, and I tried to talk to him about this again. I didn't want to spend my whole life drilling him and trying to get him to talk about it, but I was curious. I wanted to know something. So I asked him, I said, "Grandpa, can you tell me anything about your experience or whether you've seen something that's out of this world or not?" And I will never forget what he told me. He stopped dead in his tracks, looked at me, and he said, "We as humans cannot possibly be ignorant enough to think that we are the only living beings in the universe." It was then that he turned around, walked away, And that was the last thing he ever said about it. Which, of course, for me, I'm like, now I really want to know, because he kind of just gave me something, but he didn't. Is this like hidden code? Like, what is he saying? Unfortunately, after that, about a year after that, I went and visited him in hospice, where he died 3 days after my visit. He worked for the FBI. He was an Air Force intelligence officer. This was a very smart man up until the day he died. He was doing crossword puzzles in hospice. He was always very sharp. He never had any type of Alzheimer's or anything like that. So when he told me this, of course, it sparked my brain, and I wanted to learn more about what he was talking about, but I didn't want to ask. I felt asking would be disrespectful to him. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below, and I will answer them accordingly. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and I will try to get another video out either Sunday or Monday. I actually have another one planned already. But either way, I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys very, very soon.